So now with authentication added, I also want to make sure that errors are handled appropriately. And for that, back here in ChatGPT, I'll send another message to ChatGPT where I'll say, update the code to improve error handling. Instead of sending error responses right away, throw error objects that contain appropriate error status codes. Then add a generic error handling middleware, which is triggered by all those errors, and return appropriate error responses there. Only give me the updated code. This hopefully now tells ChatGPT or instructs ChatGPT to give me all the code that must be added to add this custom error handling. And it starts by defining a custom error class here for that. I'm not too happy with the class name, but it'll do the trick, I guess. And then it gives me the code that must be changed to use this class to throw custom errors. It even understands that in such async functions, these errors must be thrown by calling the next function, so that's good. And it should then also add this generic error handling middleware, hopefully. So let's see if it does that. Here we go. It's setting up this middleware here, this error handling middleware. And with that, that's all looking good. And I can therefore now update the code by copying in this class into my code base. So here, maybe relatively early in the app.js file, I'll add this error handler class. We could rename it, but here I'll keep that class name. And then I'll update all these routes. For example, here for /signup. If we find this route here where we check whether we maybe don't have an email or password, I update this code to use this error handling class. And I'll also update the code where we check whether a user already exists. And then here for login, it's basically the same. Copy this code and update it here. And then also here. And then in Authenticate JWT, I also will add this code. So here for me, I have to scroll up like this. And then also copy this code and replace it in this Authenticate JWT function, this one here. And in post meetups, we have to replace this code. So I'll do that here like this. And do the same here when we're patching a meetup. So replace this code. And then also in this patch meetup function here, replace this code here actually like this. And then here also when we're deleting, I'll grab this code and replace this here with it. And then I also need to add these two middlewares here, which are added, which need to make sure that all these errors are then handled. With that, I'll give this a try. I'll restart the app server. And I'll send another new request where I, for example, try to sign up without setting this authorization header. And I'm still getting this error response, which is a good sign, because if this new error handling logic would fail, we would probably get some other kind of error and not the expected error response. So that's looking good. If I try to sign up, for example, with an existing user, I do get another error. Next is not defined. So now indeed here it looks like for me ChatGPT introduced an error in this code, which I can take a look at manually. Of course, we could also ask ChatGPT, but here I'll first take a look manually. And yeah, here I need to accept this next argument, though, to be honest, that's not an error added by ChatGPT, but by me, because ChatGPT does tell me that I now need to add this next argument here. So I should therefore also check whether I have it here in login. No, I don't, so it should be added here as well. And for these meetups routes, I need it here for post meetups and also here for patch and here as well. So that must be added to all these routes, but that's an error by me and not by ChatGPT. So with that, I'll stop the server and restart it. And now if I try signing up with an existing user, I indeed get an appropriate error response. So now error handling is working correctly again. And of course, we might want to perform more checks, but here to me, this all seems to be working as expected. And therefore, indeed, the error handling logic was also improved. And that's therefore this exercise solved and completed, including all these enhancements. And of course, you could now enhance it further. You could, for example, refactor the code, also with help of ChatGPT, as you learned it earlier in this course. We could go back to ChatGPT and tell it, now refactor the code, split it across multiple files, and critically evaluate the code you provided. What could be improved? Describe all improvements in detail. We could send a message like this to ChatGPT to use ChatGPT for refactoring and to also use the self-reflective capabilities of ChatGPT to possibly improve the code. And by sending this message to ChatGPT, it indeed does tell me how the code can be improved, how it should be split across multiple files, and it will tell me which code should go into which files and which other improvements could be implemented. That, for example, here in my case, environment variables should be used for sensitive data, or that I might want to use a database instead of JSON files. And these indeed are all improvements that make a lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to implement these improvements here, and I'm not going to do these refactorings here, because now in this section we already did practice a lot with ChatGPT, and of course we practiced a lot with ChatGPT overall in this course, but definitely feel free to further enhance this application by, for example, going through these improvement steps or by performing these refactorings.